So to jump right into it, this first on the list is a company called iGate. They're actually based in Massachusetts, not too far away from here. And they have, this is one of the first ones where they have a very interesting delivery mechanism, like I described earlier, called iontophoresis. Maybe some of the patients here at this conference participated in the phase 2 program here in Andover. But basically, it's a small adapter that's put onto the eye, and through electrical charge, they're delivering very high amounts of what's called dexamethasone. This is a steroid, and the intention is to help with inflammation of the ocular surface. They're currently in phase 3, and it seems to be a promising technology for the treatment of dry eye. Alacrity Biosciences, this is a group that's based out of California. They've done some phase 2 work. It's actually a topical version of doxycycline. So earlier today, we heard some of the presenters reviewing doxycycline that's taken orally for the treatment of dry eye and meibomian gland disease. But this company formulated into an eye drop. So we'll see how that one works moving forward. Regenerex is a company that developed something called thymosin beta 2, or thymosin beta 4, I'm sorry. This is an agent that serves as an anti-inflammatory, but it also helps with the healing of the eye. So if you were to imagine that there's a lot of cells that are on the surface of your eye and they get damaged with dry eye, well, if you could accelerate sort of the migration or the healing of those cells, that would be beneficial to a dry eye patient. So this is what Regenerex's therapy is intending to do. And they recently put out a press release that they'll be initiating a phase 2 program. And in fact, that will be available to patients in this area coming quite soon. Novagali is a French company. They've developed a reformulation of cyclosporin A. So it looks very similar to Restasis, but the one difference is that they have what's called a cationic emulsion. Fancy term for an eye drop that helps the active medication stick to the eye for longer periods of time. Okay, so again, the idea is, can we enhance the contact time, hoping to enhance the treatment of cyclosporin for dry eye. That's currently in phase 3 in Europe, and we're looking forward to initiating phase 3 programs here in the United States relatively soon. There's a company called ISTA. They're based in California, and they're developing an agent called Ramira. And what this is it's a low-dose NSAID. Okay, so they're hoping that this is going to help with inflammation as well as ocular discomfort. So that's currently in a phase 3 program. Resolvix, this is another Massachusetts-based company that developed a topical formulation of an agent that's very similar or comes from the omega-3 pathway. So we talk about fish oils and how they're good for us and how we can take them orally. Well, this company has developed something that is very similar, comes from a very similar pathway or mechanism for the eye. It's an eye drop. We conducted a trial a couple years back here in Aura looking at this specifically, and we did see that it was very effective in treating symptoms as well as helping with corneal staining, or the marker of inflammation on the eye. That's scheduled to begin phase 3 at the beginning of next year, so another hopeful agent in the development. The next is Sarcode. It's a company in California. They are a small startup company that is developing the latest anti-inflammatory. It's what's called an LFA1 antagonist, and basically what this is it's an agent that helps with reducing inflammation. It did show in phase 2 work conducted here at Aura that it helped with symptoms. There's a quality of life questionnaire called the OSDI that was discussed earlier, and Dr. Lump was mentioning how this helps with looking at the frequency of your symptoms over the past week. With this tool, we were able to show that this significantly helped patients, and it also reduced, again, corneal staining, specifically in the lower portion of the cornea. So this one, they recently presented at a major ophthalmic research meeting, and they're looking to initiate their phase 3 program in third quarter, so this coming September. And we're going to be running a lot of these, this study in particular, a lot of patients will be participating here in Andover. If we move on to the next slide here, there's another company called CanFight. They have an oral treatment for dry eye. It's from what's called the adenosine agonist. It helps with inflammation through this particular pathway. That's currently in phase 3. And then there's a few companies, Argentis and Nascent and Allergan, that are looking at different topical hormonal therapies for dry eye. Again, we see a very high prevalence in postmenopausal women of dry eye. So if we can apply different testosterones and different androgens to the surface of the lid margin, we hope that ultimately this is going to increase their lipid production both in volume and in quality. Memetogen, company that's based out of Canada, and they have an office in Gloucester, Massachusetts. They've got a very exciting therapy. It's a mucin secretagogue. So they're currently in phase 2. We're conducting their trials here at Aura, and we're very hopeful that this will be effective in helping patients as well. And a few other companies. There's Sirion that's looking at a reformulation of cyclosporin. That's essentially a newer version of Restasis. Sodium hyaluronate. This is what's called a barrier function therapy. It's a naturally occurring lubricant. So this is maybe what you look at as an improved polymer. This is sort of the next generation artificial tear that we're looking at for the treatment of dry eye. And a couple of companies that are looking at other mucin secretagogues, in particular Otsuka and Acusella. And this is our last page for the list of treatments under development, but Pfizer's looking at an anti-inflammatory. Novartis, we were mentioning earlier, they're looking at an intravenous treatment for dry eye. So it's an immunosuppressive agent. So that's currently the enrollment finished in that trial was performed here in Aura. Bausch & Lomb, they're looking at newer, softer steroids. So novel steroids that can help with the inflammation in the eye, but they have fewer side effects. So Dr. Pietrantonio and others were mentioning how the long use of steroids can maybe affect your intraocular pressure, and that can be dangerous. So there's a new class of steroids that minimizes these effects. Lux Bioscience has a reformulation of cyclosporin, Insight Vision, and another low-dose NSAID mixed with an enhanced delivery mechanism. And then Alcon has an agent, Derazol, which is currently used as a post-surgical treatment for inflammation as well as pain, and it's being repurposed to see if it can help with dry eye. And then Santen is looking at a novel medication, a newer ophthalmic solution that they haven't released too much on insofar as the mechanism of action, but this is another one that's on the list. Okay, so that's what's happening in the world of dry eye, and I think it's a really exciting time because you see that it's a long list. There's 3 slides of therapies. And we've, as a company, Aura's been doing this for focusing on dry eye for more than 15 years. Personally, I've been doing this for about 13, and we've been very fortunate to see the evolution of the therapies, and knowing and realizing that eventually we will get there. Well, we do feel that over the past 3-4 years, we've seen significant improvements in these treatments for dry eye, and they're moving into phase 3. There's 3 companies or 4 companies that are in phase 3. That means we're pretty close. We're getting closer to having something that's truly going to be effective, not only for clinical signs of dry eye, but symptoms. And symptoms are what are most important, especially for patients like yourself.